He should be good to go. We're all set, barring anything unusual this afternoon. He skated fine and normal yesterday, and he's ready to go.
Where does Kachuck impact the game the most in your eyes?
Structure of the lines, certainly a familiarity with Bennett and Verhaeghe. The power play, an important piece to what he does. And then there's a leadership piece, and we have a whole bunch of guys that I would think would be captains on NHL teams, and he would be one of them for sure. He has this unique gameness. I don't know how to describe it to you better. He can sense the flow of the game, and a lot of it in terms of the mental part of the game, who's winning that mental war, whether to get up and down the bench and bark, to get up and down the bench and, tap pads. And so he has this really good gift of feeling a game that way. Very important for a coach, because then you don't have to be the guy doing that all the time, and more impactful when it comes from a player.
He just told us it was a procedure that he had to have. It was a scary moment there because he was like that flight back.
No, it was just, first of all, you're not 100% sure what it is, because it was just an illness, and then there's a spectrum to all these things. It could be really bad or not bad, and when he got tested, it was not bad, so they have a treatment for it. They did it. He's ready to roll.
And like we talked a little bit about yesterday, your guys seem to rally around it. Did you feel like your team has played much better since that Buffalo game, where it seemed like maybe there was some looseness, and you guys look like yourselves now?
Correct. I liked our first game, and I liked our game in Ottawa better after I watched it the second time. So you get a better feel. They played a very good game. We had about 11 minutes over their zone time. Like, it was really well played. And so the Buffalo game, we call it maybe an adjustment game. You take those two guys out. We didn't play the game that we set out to play. It will always look different based on the opponent. Our goal is that our game doesn't change that much. It's just going to look different, because tonight will be a great example. If you look at our last three games, the Vancouver game and the Minnesota game are going to look a lot more alike than the Vegas game, based on the style that those three teams play. So we had a bit of an adjustment. We had 3 or 4 blocks of time last year where we didn't like our game at all, and we were able to kind of correct those, come out of those blocks and play much better. I'm hoping that we had the one-off in Buffalo, but we used it, right? There was a video there that explained why our game didn't look the way it needs to look, and it was corrected by the players in the next 3. The Columbus game, I didn't watch again, because there's nothing in that context that I could understand. I'd never been through that before. It was an incredibly challenging place for both teams to play. So I've in our 7-game start, we've had the one we didn't like. The rest of them have looked the way we would have hoped. Maybe not always with the result, but you're not winning every game.
Barkov's going to come back eventually.
Yeah.
Next couple games?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
He skated this morning. The report was he was better. He's a big man, puts a lot of torque on his body, and we want to make sure he's right, that he doesn't have to deal with this again.
All things being equal, the line, nobody gets hurt, everybody's the same. Do you stay with Lundell with Reinhart, or you go back?
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a consideration when they come back. Knowing that nothing needs to be permanent with our team, having a place to go based on experience, these guys, it's really, really important. You're going to get in a game, you got all your guys in the lineup, you don't like the way you're going, you don't like the match, so you can move these lines around, and then the players have hope. So if you take Reinhart and you put him with Barkov, he's had some pretty good experience there. If he stays with Lundell, he's had some pretty good experience there. For Hagee's the same idea. I think Rodriguez has become that kind of a player, because he's moved all around, and we're starting to learn a little bit more about Boqvist. I would like to keep Sam Reinhart on his natural side in his kind of first tour in the National Hockey League, because it's difficult. You're trying to learn 6 or 7 different things, and then you throw them into a new position. All 6 of those things look different on the other side of the ice, so we'd like to protect them on the right side if we could. But we have other players that we can move around now, and maybe the biggest payoff is we get A.J. Greer into minutes that he's not normally usually played. Boqvist hasn't played those minutes for a while. It's new for Sam Reinhart. We're learning an awful lot about what Uvis Balinskis can do for us in that role, because he's been really solid up front. Patty Giles is a new player. We've played him center and the wing. So there's a lot of learning by us, by the coaching staff. More importantly, the players. you're going to get into more injuries at some point in your year. You're going to need to make adjustment. What you want is to be stepping out on the ice and feeling like we can win with this lineup, with this group. We've done it before.
Yesterday, you were saying the Wild are one of those teams that kind of play with your intensity. With
Yeah.
that, when you have two teams that are so similar intensity-wise, what do you expect in tonight's game, and how do you keep it from? How can both teams kind of maintain that for 60 minutes tonight?
I think they will just be on the way they played. I think that part's easy for both teams. Now, when I say easy, it's probably what both coaches worry about before going to every game. We got to get our energy level up to a certain point and style of game. Really interesting because we don't see these teams very often. You almost rely on last year. We lost game 1 against these guys, and I loved our game. We played an incredibly strong game and lost. And then I think we gave up 5 shorthanded goals against them in here and lost 6-5 in a really weird one. I'd like to think our penalty kill's a little better, but they got some really good skill. So discipline probably will, both teams will play very hard. It will be physical. Discipline will probably be the deciding factor tonight.
Goaltender.
Sergei plays.
On that, he's sitting on 399 wins, 400 for a goaltender, very rare for most head coaches don't even get close to 400 wins. With that, how do you kind of look at a number like that for him, and just what that means potentially once he gets that?
It's a really good question. I think I got some ideas on how I feel about it. I'd be more comfortable answering it upon it being achieved. I don't have any concern that he won't. But I'll answer it kind of from a Bobrovsky perspective. He's a very humble man. Would prefer there wasn't any attention on him. So we'll wait until he hits that milestone, and then I'll wear your batteries out.